Welcome back to another review. I have the Godox XPro wireless radio flash trigger in for testing. This is the Sony version and it was sent in via FastTech for a review. Now what you get included with this, the warranty card and the user guide. I will put the user guide right at the end of the video so you can have a look through that in more detail. Now the package with this is pretty basic, just the radio trigger box. You also get a hot shoe cover that's included, but nothing else. There's no cables or any other items with this bundle. So what I'll do to start off with is list out the key features. We have 16 groups, 32 channels. This unit does support high-speed sync. You have 3 stops exposure compensation in third of a stop steps, and we've got a large backlit LCD, so it's quite a well featured trigger, and it's a bit different to the X1 model which you may have used previously. Much larger display, more buttons, so it should be easier to operate. You've also got that jog dial there as well. Now on the side of the unit, if you flip open the cover, you'll see we have a Type-C USB port. That's for the firmware updates, and a 2.5mm jack. That's so you can connect directly to the camera. And you also have the power switches on the right hand side. The first one is the unit power, and the one near the front is for the AF assist on or off. So not all of the cameras will be able to use that, but it's there if you need it. Now on the underside you can flip open the back cover there, and you've got 2 AA batteries that this takes. Just slot them in. The cover on this is pretty decent, seems to stay in place without any problems. Nice firm click. And then we can also see the AF assist light. I will get onto that a bit later on, but the Sony version, it's not going to work on the E-mount cameras, but it will work on the SLRs or the SLT cameras. And we'll just have a quick shot of the multi-interface shoe. I will probably make a video directly on that later on. So as far as the overall fit and finish and build, it feels perfectly decent. Quality plastics here, doesn't feel weak or weedy in any way, and the screen also has a good cover on it, so if you push down on that it shouldn't do any damage to it. So normal use, I can't see a problem with this. Now the display is nice and large. The only time that the viewing angles are poor is if you're looking directly at the front of the unit at a low down angle. In every other situation the viewing is perfectly fine. There's no issues at all with seeing the screen quite clearly. I've also done a test later on outside so you can look at the visibility in sunlight. Now the operation on this, very straightforward. You can either use the side buttons to select the groups or toggle through them using the arrow buttons. You'll see the screen change to show the different controls that you can use, and then you can go in and adjust the exposure compensation as I am doing here. Now if you press the mode button it will cycle you through. You can go into the manual, not just the TTL, and make your adjustments. The maximum is 1/256. If you have a flash that supports that, there's an option for that in the menu, or with the menu you can just cycle through the power levels. So you just go through each of the groups and however many flashes you have connected or the studio lights, and then you can set the power output on that. So it makes it pretty easy to get the selection, although the buttons don't line up exactly with the markings on the screen for some reason. It's just a minor point to make, and if you want a bigger display you can just press the zoom button so you'll be able to see it much more clearly. I'm now pressing the left button so I can go into the zoom settings, and again you'll see for each of the groups you have a setting there for the zoom level, so you can go and manually set that if you want, and that will make quite a difference to the outputs and adjust the zoom head on the flash units. I'll show a quick demonstration of that later on. Also got the sync button for high speed sync. You'll see the symbol come up, and the mod is for the modeling light, and you'll see the icons come up for that. So it's fairly straightforward as far as I'm concerned. You've also got a button there with the all, so you can select them all together and then make adjustments as you wish. Doesn't really take much to get used to this unit. I found it quite intuitive and easy to use. If you've not selected anything else and you press the mode button, you get the option come up for the multi-flash or strobe, and you can then go in and set the times and the speed. You'll see the display change on the screen to show you what options are available using the 4 buttons along the bottom. So fairly intuitive. I'm pretty happy with the overall operation, and you shouldn't find it difficult to pick up after you've been playing around with it for a short period of time. The user manual doesn't really make it particularly easy though, I'll have to say that. There's your LED indicator, so you can see when you have fired a test shot. You can also use this as a remote trigger as well as a two-stage switch on this, rather like a shutter button. Now if you push and hold the zoom stroke channel button, that will also let you change the channel, so you can cycle through the channels. The reason for that is if you are using it around somebody else, maybe you're at an event, you don't interfere with each other's radio signals if you're using the same system, so you can pick between 1 and 32 on that. And that's not a feature that I'd be using much myself, but like I said, if you're at an event you can do that. You also have a lock feature on the unit, so you can lock it out, push and hold that with the mode button for a long period of time, and push and hold again so that you can unlock it. That's in case you accidentally change settings. Useful feature to have in case someone starts mashing the buttons on the unit. Now what I'm going to do now is take it into the custom function. You'll see that on the top right is the firmware version. It's 1.0 at the minute. There aren't any additional ones at the moment. You've got the standby option, whether or not you want the beep on or off. There's the minimum power output, either 128 or 256. Most of the flashes that I've used are 128. You've also got the backlight option. You can have it on constantly, but it does drain the battery down more. That's the biggest drain of power on the unit, is the backlight. So I usually just leave that on at 12 seconds. Whether or not you want the sync port activated, and the group option here lets you pick between 5 or 16. There are some limitations with the 16, and I'll show you later on. And LCD contrast, increase or decrease that. It's a bit more visible in person than it is on the camera, and if you're using a single person shooting, or you could have a group of people using the same transmitter. Not sure about the app, haven't really got into that. Distance 1 to 100 or 0 to 30 meters. So it does seem to make a difference if you're closer with the units, and there's a unique ID. Lets you scroll through, I believe up to 99 for that, and you can set it to that or leave it off. And the TCM option, whether you're using a flash or the studio strobes. What I'm going to do now is go in and change the group settings from 5, which is the default, to 16. You do have some limitations with this, but you can scroll down through the additional groups using the buttons there in the middle, up and down with the group button. So I believe it's manual mode only for the additional groups, but still it's an option if you need more strobes or other units attached. And you can use this with the older Minolta style ISO if you get the Sony adapter or something equivalent. It works perfectly fine on the SLT cameras. You'll see that when I'm changing the settings on the X Pro, it will automatically change them on the flash gun. So in real time it will change through whether or not you're in manual or TTL. It adjusts those settings, which is exactly what you want, because you're controlling the power output directly from the master unit here. And you can also see that I'm changing the zoom on the head with this one too. That does make quite a difference, the zoom, so don't ignore that option where you can actually focus in the light. Now if you make setting changes on the flash gun, once you go back to the master unit, it will override those settings. So you can see I'll just change it to 1/64th power, and as soon as I change it again on the master unit, it goes back to what I've set it to, and that's again exactly what you'd want. We'll do a quick test shot now, very simple shot, nothing too artistic, just to give you an idea. Close distance, we're doing a still life, and we'll just fire a test shot just to see what both units are firing. And you can see my settings here on the screen. I'm just using TTL to start off with. Now the TCM function, if you long press that, it converts the metered reading to manual, so it's giving me quarter power. Then you can go in and make your adjustments yourself. Usually you're going to use manual, but it's handy to have a starting point with the TTL metering. You can see here, this is the shot that I got through the lens metering, and then I made a manual adjustment. You can see how the lighting has changed. I've changed the power output front to back. When we go outside, visibility is good on the LCD. Didn't have any issues using it outside, even in bright daylight. Nice big display also helps. And I'm going to use the TT685S. I'm just going to do a shot from above, high speed sync. So at 500th of a second, high speed sync. You can see the details on the screen, f2.8, and without flash. So the high speed sync's working perfectly fine. Haven't seen any problems at all using that. This is the AF assist pattern. You can see the lines spread out. As I mentioned before, It won't work on the mirrorless cameras, but that's down to Sony. And if we go and see their latest flash gun, which is really expensive, brand new one has just come out a few months ago, that doesn't have an AF assist light on it either. So this is a Sony thing. Whether or not it's possible to do it, I don't know, but it's not really Godox's fault on this one. So the range on this, about 100 foot, just to see whether it's firing consistently, and you can see absolutely no problems at all. Haven't had any misfires on this. This is the Sony wireless radio commander, and you can see there is a massive price difference between this and the Godox, and it doesn't really offer anything extra in terms of functionality. But there are a couple of niggles for me. Firstly, the battery life indicator, that could be more accurate. It's not very useful if you use the rechargeable cells because the voltages are lower than the disposable ones. They could have put an option to change that in the menu system. Also, the manual is a bit long-winded and not particularly helpful. Honestly, found it better to just play around with the unit myself. As far as value for money goes, features and functionality and consistency, which is really important for a unit like this, the X Pro is a winner, and definitely one that you should get for your system. And I've been using it extensively now, and I haven't had any issues at all with it. So not perfect, a few areas to tweak, but a very strong unit overall. So thanks for watching the video. I will put the user guide up now if you want to wade through that. If you've got any questions or comments, drop them below, and I will see you soon.